I have one
So
on my
your
mind. I might
Mount
be way off.
Rushmore
I'm curious what he says.
of bareback horses. I mean, one in our obviously living presence is F13 Virgil. They're just,
Yeah, I was right there.
no, they're just, I mean, you can go back 50 years, you can go forward 50 years. I'm not saying there's not going to be another one like him because they're making them all the time. The bloodlines are insane, but you got to put Virgil up there. Everything about that horse, his size, his color, I mean, from his mane to his tail, and I finally got to get on him this year in Clovis, California. It was the first horse I got on after a 6-week hiatus after Houston. And the personality that horse has, and he's a true athlete. He turns around and looks at you while you're running your hand, and he goes, oh, and he goes, hey, he lets you know. He looks at you through your soul and lets you know that you're about to be basically taken for the ride of your life.
You better be ready.
You better have your hammer caught because he has so many different trips, but they're all pretty tough, but amazing. And he's at the top for sure. You go down the list, Grated Coconut would probably have to go up there for sure. That's a horse that has basically a lot of these Calgary Stampede horses that you see. The bloodlines come down from Grated Coconut. He was one of the most amazing, electrifying bareback horses of his generation. And he actually didn't go on to have a extremely long career, as a bucking athlete. He ended up, he's, been in the 4-man at Calgary a handful of times, obviously been bucking horse of the world, been in the NFR a handful of times, but then they actually snubbed him up and just made him a breeder. And I couldn't count all the bloodlines, all the horses that we're getting on the short round here, Puyallup, wherever, the NFR, so many bloodlines would come down from Grated Coconut. Still to this day.
What years was he?
He'd have been, so most of the stuff you see from Grated would have been early 2000s. He just passed away. Don't quote me on this. It might have been last year or the year before. So he was pretty old whenever he passed away, but he was a G. I lose track of the numbers because Calgary's got a year system for all their numbers, but put it this way, they're fixing to come around. So there should be G colts on the ground right now that are 3, I believe, 3 or 4.
Pretty exciting stuff.
So, exciting. So that's how they do that. Agent Links. So this is a fun fact for maybe the people don't know. So anytime you hear a horse's name from Calgary Stampede, Agent Links, Yippee Kibitz, Zulu Warrior, whatever the first letter of their name starts with is also the first letter of their brand to keep track of their year. So they name when they go through their Z's, it's all Z's. A's are all A's. D's are all D's. Disco Party, all. Wow. So their brands on their hip are D508, Agents, A91, Yippies, Y92. It's a pretty cool deal. And that's the way they keep track of all of them.
So you got Virgil, Grated Coconut.
And I'm trying to make sure I give the horses that have since passed a lot of credit because there are some
which
great
is hard
ones,
to do which is the ones you've rode and everything and won so much money on.
Like I said, the bloodlines now are so crazy. It's there's some horses that are just far better than there's ever been. And, one of my favorite horses is 2708 Nightcrawler, Colin Pickett's. She's the reigning bucking horse of the world, and she's not very big. She's really cool. She's a pretty bay horse, flashy mane and tail, and she's one of those that just loves what she does. She's so calm and gentle. She looks like a horse you could just saddle, and you probably could. She's so gentle. She looks like a horse you could saddle and ride the American flag around the arena with her mane flowing. She's got a cute little head on her. She just almost seems like someone's just grooming her like a performance horse every day. She never has any knots in her mane or tail. She doesn't get fuss or fight in the buck and shoot when you're pulling her. She's built good, and then she goes out there and you got to stub a toe pretty hard not to be 90 plus on her. They've won a lot on that horse. I've only been on her once. It was my rookie year. She was still kind of a baby, and so was I, and we were 89, and it was at that point was, for me and her both, was one of the coolest starts of our deal. And she's one I'd like to have at the 10th round of the NFR, but she's kind of in her own league right now. There's a reason why she'd win bucking horse of the world over a horse like Virgil. She's amazing. Not Virgil, obviously, is still been and has been great and still is great, but Nightcrawler's got to go up there.
Last one.
This fourth one's going to stub me a little bit. This is a horse that I've never been on but I think you got to give her so much credit because like you watch her in person, you've just never seen a horse buck this hard. And that's Killer Bee and Butler and Sons 570 Killer Bee. Like I said, I always told myself no matter where I had that horse drawn, whether it be at a $5,000 at a rodeo or at the 10th round of the NFR, that I'd go get on her because she was the type of horse that bucked so hard. A lot of guys would not go get on her because it was almost like a deal where it's not just like how hard she's gonna buck or not. Like she could kill you. Like she bucks. She's the most unrealistic vertical bucking horse like that there's ever been. And I've seen guys make some career high wins on her, and some guys get bucked off harder than I've ever seen. And she actually passed away last year. And she's, what's pretty cool about the story of the Butler and Sons though, for their up and coming herd is obviously they lost a lot of horses, and I don't know, I haven't been told how many exactly or how many young ones, old ones, brood mares, whatever it was, but there's one horse out of Killer Bee and Tiger Warrior, which Tiger Warrior is an extremely hard horse to ride of Calgary Stampedes. It's usually in the bronc riding, and it's a big scare. I mean, think of a horse called Tiger Warrior of Calgary Stampedes. It's a monster, and it's a horse that bronc riders have a lot of trouble with. And there's a Killer Bee Tiger Warrior baby that didn't refuse to eat the grain that was being fed to, that ended up killing a bunch of their horses. And this is like I said, I could be fact checked on this. This is just what I've been hearing from pretty good sources, but right now there's like a baby on the ground that's a Killer Bee and Tiger Warrior colt that that we are all real excited to see what the heck happens in the next 5 years, because it could be the most buckingest thing on earth. But all in all, I think if you look up at Mount Rushmore and you got Virgil, Grated, Nightcrawler, and Killer Bee up there, I mean, any one of those horses is kind of 90 or nothing, and that'd be pretty cool. But I guess we got riders.
Yeah.
Bobby Moat kind of reinvented. Let me go back further. So, well, like for my generation, like growing up, like Bobby Moat was the first guy that I kind of looked up to. He's a 4-time world champion and longer legged guy that, just what had a league of his own at a certain time and point, was a force to be reckoned with for years, and made the NFR 12 or 13 times, maybe more. And, kind of set the standard for bareback riders. And then obviously you got Casey Field that came in kind of right at the last leg of Bobby's career. And he really reinvented bareback riding as far as explosive feet and setting his feet with authority and having style too, like Casey's just like, from 2000, to whatever it was, 11 through 14, like he just, nobody could touch that guy. He was on a league of his own. And then to do that and almost go on a little bit of a hiatus and come back 5 years later and win 2 more, it just says all you need to say about the GOAT of bareback riding. Obviously, have a lot of respect for Casey. Glad to call him one of my close friends. He'd definitely have to be up there. Bruce Ford is the guy that you date back to. I can't recall the years that he won the world, but he's actually the one that really invented the guys that would stay back further and spur up, like, because back then riggings were so different, horses were so different. It was more or less like a sitting up game and trying to just spur up their neck. Bruce was like the first guy to sit way back on a horse, and he had real long legs like Bobby. So he was the one, we owe it to him basically why bareback riding evolved into what it turned into.
Wow.
Basically.
That's cool.
And like, just like the horse deal, the 4th one's pretty tough, but one of my all-time favorites, and I think just for his longevity, would have to be Will Lowe. Will Lowe has been doing this since before I was born and won his world titles in early 2000s. He's a 3-time world champion. He's the toughest damn guy on the planet. I've seen Killer Bee, I thought, end his career. Borderline thought it might have ended his life, and he got up and was smoking a cigarette not 2 minutes later in the locker room. And he's unbelievably tough. He's one of the truest cowboys I've ever met. So yeah, I think you put Bruce, Casey, Bob, and Will up there, and you got on those horses matched up, you got a pretty cool bareback
all 4
riding
going over 90 probably.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good group. And obviously there's a lot of old legends, horses and guys that I could put up there, but those are the ones that come to mind. And yeah, pretty cool.